it is given that the principal amount is 4,444 and the rate of interest is 10% per annum, whereas the time is given as 6 months. Now, in order to calculate the simple interest, we have to know the time in terms of years. So this time can be written as 6 by 12 years, which is nothing but half year. Now, to calculate the interest, we know the formula as PTR by 100. Now we'll substitute the values of P, T and R, which are 4444 into half into 10 by 100. If we simplify, the interest will be 222.20 rupees, which is option A. We have to find the simple interest on rupees 6,840 at the rate of 5% from October 2nd to December 14th. Now look here, the principal amount is given as rupees 6840, whereas the rate of interest is given as 5%. Now the most important thing is time period. Time period is given as October 2nd to 14th December. Now, so 29 days of October plus 30 days of November and 14 days of December are included for the interest. So this will be totally 73 days. So the person has to pay the interest for this 73 days. But the time must be always in terms of years. So it is nothing but 73 by 365, which is 1 by 5. Now again, to calculate the simple interest, we use the same formula, that is PTR by 100. Now the value of P is 6840 and whereas T is 1 by 5 and R is 5 by 100, which is nothing but 68.40 rupees. That is option A. We have to find the amount received by Ramu, which in 5 years at the rate of 13.1/4% is amounting to rupees 5,500. So we have to find the principal amount, that is P. Now let the principal amount be some 100 units. Now this 100 units will increase by 13.25% for 1 year. Now the interest is paid for 5 years. So the rate of interest for 5 years is 13.25 into 5, that is 66.25. So initially the principal was 100, now the rate of interest is 66.25. So the total amount after 5 years will be 166.25. This 166.25 is given as 5,500 rupees. Now we need the principal amount, that is 100 units. So 100 units is how much? That is nothing but 100 into 5,500 by 166.25. If we simplify, the answer will be approximately rupees 3,308, which is option B. To find the principal amount, which amounts to rupees 1,200 in 5 years and to rupees 1,500 in 8 years at simple interest. Let the principal amount be some P. This principal amount P is becoming rupees 1,200 after 5 years, and same amount P is becoming rupees 1,500 after 8 years. Now clearly we can say that there is a difference of 3 years and the difference in amount is rupees 300. So there is an increase of rupees 300 in 3 years. So for 1 year it will be rupees 100. So clearly we can say that the interest for 1 year is rupees 100. Now looking at the first statement, we don't know what is the principal, but after 5 years of interest adding, it is becoming 1,200. So principal we don't know, but the interest for 5 years will be 500. Then the amount is 1,200. So 500 plus something must be 1,200. So clearly we can say that the principal is rupees 700. Now we know the principal, which is 700 rupees, and also we know the interest for 1 year, that is 100 rupees, and time is of course 1 year. From this we can easily find the value of R by using the formula I is equals to PTR by 100. If we substitute all the values, then the value of R is obtained as 14.2/7%. So the required option is D. It is given that a fruit vendor has borrowed a total of rupees 50,000 from two money lenders, and he paid 10% to one of the person and 12% to the other. And after 1 year, the total interest paid was rupees 1500. Now we have to find the amount borrowed at 12%. Now, let the two vendors be A and B. And also let us assume that from A, he has taken certain amount, say X. So from B, it will be 50,000 minus X, as the total amount is rupees 50,000. And also let us assume that the rate of interest for A is 10%, and whereas paid to B is 12%. Also given that total interest is rupees 5,800 after 1 year. So we know how to calculate the interest, which is PTR by 100, and principal amount in the first case is X, rate is 10%, and the time is 1 year. Similarly, principal amount is 50,000 minus X in the second case, R is 12%, whereas the time is 1 year. So the total interest will be interest in the first case plus interest in the second case will be total interest. That is X into 10 into 1 by 100 plus 50,000 minus X into 12 into 1 by 100 is 5,800. Solving this equation will get the value of X as 10,000. So we can say that with A, the money lender has taken rupees 10,000 at 10% per annum, but we need the amount taken at 12% per annum, which is 50,000 minus X, that is nothing but 40,000, which is option B. We have to find the time taken to become an amount of rupees 2,000 to 2,200 at 12% per annum rate of interest under simple interest. Now we have to find T, whereas the principal is 2,000, amount is 2,200. Now clearly we can say that there is a difference of 200, which is nothing but the interest. So interest for 200 is rupees, 2,000 is rupees 200. Now we know the rate of interest, we know the interest, and also we know the principal. By using the formula I is equals to PTR by 100, we can calculate the value of T. So that is T is equals to I into 100 by PR, which is equals to I is nothing but 200 into 100 by principal is 2,000 into R, which is 12. So if we calculate, it will be 10 by 12. So it is nothing but 10 months, option B. Rupees P is lent out at P% for P years under simple interest. Now we have to calculate the rate of interest if the interest is P. So what is given is principal, rate of interest, time, and also the interest. All these values are given as rupees P, and we have to find the value of P, which is nothing but interest. Now we'll use the same formula I is equals to PTR by 100, which is P is equals to P into P into P by 100. From this we can say that P square is equals to 100. That implies P is nothing but 10. So if P is 10, we can say that the interest is rupees 10, and rate of interest is also 10%. So the option C. In this problem, a person invested rupees 2,000 in two different banks for 3 years, and the difference of their interest is rupees 3. Now we have to find the difference between their rates. Now, let the two banks be A and B. The amount invested is 2,000 each, that is the principal amount is 2,000 in each banks. For a time period of 3 years, again T is same, which is 3 years. Now rate of interest are different because their interests are different, R1 and let this be R2. Now the difference in the interest, let us say I1 minus I2, is given as 3 rupees. Now how to calculate the value of I1? It is nothing but the interest in the first case, which is PTR by 100, that is 2000 into 3 into R1 by 100 minus 2000 into T, that is 3 into R2 by 100. The difference is 3. If we simplify this, we'll get the value R1 minus R2 as 0.05%, which is nothing but option C. An amount of rupees 500 amounts to 650 in 3 years at simple interest. Right. Now, if the rate of interest is increased by 2%, then what will be the amount for the same time, same period? Now, initially the amount was, that is the principal was rupees 500. We don't know what is the rate of interest, some R, then it has amounted to rupees 650 in 3 years. But this rate of interest is increased by 2%. So initially if it was R%, now it is R plus 2%. Then what is he asking is, for the same time period, what will be the new amount? Now, the difference is only 2%. The difference is rate of interest is increased by 2%. So even the interest will be increased by 2% every year. That means a total of 6% for 3 years on principal, which is nothing but 6% of 500, which is nothing but 30. So the amount will be more by 30 rupees. So initially it was 650, now it is 30 more. So the new amount will be rupees 680. This problem, which is given that interest on rupees 5,000 exceeds the interest on rupees 3,000 by 500 for a time period of 2 years. Now we have to find the rate of interest. Now here, there is an amount of 5,000 and there is an amount of rupees 2,000. Now, the interest on rupees 5,000 is exceeding by rupees 500 on 2,000. Now look, there is a difference of 3,000. Between these two, there is a difference of rupees 3,000. So this 500 will be definitely the interest of this 3,000 for 2 years. So 500 is the interest for rupees 3,000 2 years, for 2 years. Now for 1 year, the interest will be 250. In order to calculate the rate of interest, it is enough to find the percentage of 250 on 3,000, which is nothing but 250 is what percent on 3,000 into 100, which is nothing but 81/3%, which is option A. We have to find the interest for 2 years and 6 months compounded annually at 10% on rupees 10,000. So the principal amount is given as 10,000 and rate of interest is given as 10%, whereas the time period is 2 years. Now we have to calculate the interest for 2.5 years. So entirely 2 years plus a fraction, that is half year. So you know the formula to find amount, that is A is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to the power of n if n is an integer, that is positive. Now for this fraction also we can write the formula, which is, first we'll write for this entire 2 years, which will be P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to the power of 2 into, for this half year it will be 1 plus. The rate of interest for the entire year is R, then the rate of interest for half year will be R by 2. So instead of R, it will be R by 2 by 100. Now substitute the values. P is nothing but 10,000, R is 10%, if we simplify, the amount will be 12,705 rupees. So the amount after 2.5 years is 127.05, whereas the principal is rupees 10,000. So there is an increase of 2,705, which is nothing but the compound interest for 2.5 years, which is option A. Compound interest on rupees 3,000 at 20% per annum for 1 year, if it is compounded half yearly. Now here the principal amount is given as 3,000, rate of interest is 20%, whereas the time is 1 year. Now the most important thing is interest is compounding half yearly. So the formula will be A is equals to P into 1 plus R by 2 by 100 raised to the power of 2n. Now, you might be asking what is the reason for r by 2. So, for the total year, if the rate of interest is r, we are compounding it half yearly. So, the rate of interest also will become half and 2n. Now, if it is compounded every annum per annum, so it will be n. As it is compounding twice in annum per annum, that is, it will be 2n. Now, just substitute the values to get the amount. Principal is nothing but 3000 into 1 plus rate of interest is 20, so 20 by 2 by 100 raised to the power of 2 into 1 year. If we simplify, it will be 3630 rupees. Now, initially the principal was rupees 3000. Now the amount is 3630. So there is a difference of rupees 630, which is nothing but the compound interest for 1 year. That is option A. We borrowed a sum of rupees which is amounted to 36,000 in 2 years and 64,000 in 4 years at compound interest, where it is compounded annually. Now we have to find the rate of interest. So we don't know what is the principal. Let us take the principal as some P. This P has become rupees 36,000 in 2 years. We don't know what is the rate. At some rate, say R%. Again, same principal has become rupees 64,000 in 4 years at the same rate of interest. Now we have to find this rate of interest R. We know the formula to find the amount. That is A is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to the power of n. Now substitute the values in the first case and second case. So it will be 36,000 is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to the power of 2. Let it be some equation 1. Now in the second case, it will be 64,000, that is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to the power of 4. Let it be some equation 2. Now in order to find the value of R, it is enough to divide equation 1 by 2 or 2 by 1. Let us consider 2 by 1, which is 64,000 by 36,000 is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to the power of 4 by P into 1 plus R by 100 whole square, which is nothing but 64 by 36, that is equals to 1 plus R by 100 whole square. That implies 1 plus R by 100 will be square root of 64 by 36, which is 8 by 6. That implies the value of R as 33 1 by 3%, which is option C. The value of a four-wheeler depreciates by 15% every year. If the value of the four-wheeler in 2004 was 80,000, then we have to find its value in 2006. Now, initially, let us say principal. Initially, it was rupees 80,000, the cost of four-wheeler. Now, every year it is decreasing by 15%. So, when it is compound interest, it will increase by R%, whereas here it will decrease by R%. And we have to find the rate after 2 years. So, time is 2 years and the principal is 80,000, whereas the rate is minus 15. So, we'll use the same formula of compound interest. That is, amount is equals to P into 1 plus minus R by 100 raised to the power of n, which is 80,000 into 1 minus the rate of interest is 15 by 100 whole square. If we simplify this, the value will be 57,800 rupees. So we can say that after 2 years, 80,000 will depreciate to 57,800, which is option C. On a certain sum for 2 years at the rate of 2.5%, the difference between the simple interest and compound interest is rupees 20. We have to find the principal amount. Now, let the principal amount be some P. Now, the rate of, time is given as 2 years and the compound difference between the simple interest and compound interest is given as rupees 20. Now, as we discussed earlier, we know the formula. The difference between simple interest and compound interest, that is D, is given by the formula PR square by 100 square. Now, D is nothing but the difference, which is given as 20. And principal we have to find, and the rate of interest is given as 2.5 by 100 square. If we simplify, we'll get the value of P as rupees 32,000. That is nothing but option D. 1,000 is becoming 1,32,651 at 4% compound interest. Now, if the interest is being compounded semi-annually, what will be the time? Now we know the formula. A is equals to P into 1 plus R by 200 raised to the power of 2n, as we have discussed in theory. Now, just substitute the values. A is nothing but 132,651, whereas P is 125,000. 1 plus rate of interest is 4 by 200 raised to the power of 2n, which implies 51 by 50 whole power 2n, that is right hand side, will be equals to 132,651 by 125,000, which can be written as 51 by 50 whole cube. Now clearly 2n is nothing but 3, that implies n is nothing but 1.5 years. Option A. Interest on 25,000 rupees, which is compounded annually at 10% per annum for 2 years 73 days. Now the only problem in this is 2 years and 73 days. Now for 2 years we can easily find the compound interest. Now what about 73 days? So first we'll convert the 73 days into years. Now 73 days is nothing but 73 by 365, which is nothing but 1 by 5th of an year. Now don't say it's a leap year and so on. Generally we'll consider non-leap years. Now for 2 years we can write the formula as A is equals to P into 1 plus R by 100 whole to the power of n into whatever the fraction left, that is 1 plus, now R will become R by 5 by 100. Now just substitute the values. A is equals to P, the value of P is 25,000 into 1 plus rate of interest is 10 to 1 plus 2 by 100. Now if we simplify, it will be approximately 30,855, which is the amount after 2 years 73 days. Now principally the amount was, initially the amount was 25,000, now it is 30,855. So the difference between them is nothing but the compound interest, which is 5,855. Option C. The value of certain article depreciates at the rate of 20% every year. If the present value of the article is 64, we have to find the value of the article 3 years ago. Now let the value of the article 3 years ago be some 100. Now after 1 year it will decrease by 20%, so it will become 80. Then after 1 more year it will decrease by 20%. 20% of 80 is nothing but 16, so this will become 64. Now after 2 years again it will decrease by 20%. 20% of 64 is nothing but 12.8, so the required value will be 47.2. This 47.2 is nothing but the present value, which is given as 100. Now we need, which is given as 64. Now we need the original value, that is 100, is how much? If we calculate 64 into 100 by 47.2, which is nothing but 125. Now we can use this method, or we can solve this by another method, which is nothing but direct formula. Amount is equals to principal into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n. This is the formula used for compound interest. Now whenever we are talking about compound interest, there will be an increase in the rate. Now when we are talking about the depreciation, this R will become minus R. Now the formula will be A is equals to P into 1 minus R by 100 whole power n, where A is the present value, which is given as 64 rupees, and P is the value 3 years before, that is P. 1 minus rate of interest is 20 by 100, and the number of years are 3. If we simplify, we'll get the value of P as 125, which is option A. Interest on a certain sum for 2 years is given as 900, whereas the simple interest for the same period is 800. Now we have to find the difference between compound and simple interest for 3 years. Now look here. Interest for 2 years is given as 900, which is compound interest, and the interest for 2 years on the same amount is 800 under simple interest. Now there is a difference of 100 rupees. So this difference will be this difference is nothing but the interest on 400 rupees, because if it is simple interest for 2 years it will be equally balanced, so 400 plus 400, but at the compound interest it is 900, so 400 plus 500. This 500, the extra 100, is nothing but the interest on this 400. So now we can easily say that the difference on simple interest for the first year is rupees 100, because for the first year it will be same. There is the second year is there is a difference of 100. This is for second year. Now we have to find the difference for third year. As the interest is 900 rupees, from which we can find the rate of interest by using the formula R is equal to 100 SI by PT. If I substitute the values, we know 100 into simple interest is 100 by 400 is the principal into 1, which is 25%. Now hence the required interest, that is the difference, is nothing but the interest on 900 rupees, plus the interest which is 100, extra interest, that is 900%, rate of interest is 25%, plus 100, this will give you rupees 325, which is nothing but option